So, once upon a time, there was a baby boy born. He was loved and cared for, and he grew pretty quickly. A few years passed, and his parents had another baby, this time a little girl. She was loved and cared for too. The new baby also grew quickly, and pretty soon the brother and the sister were playing and wrestling and laughing and being rascally. Sometimes the siblings would argue and say kind of mean things to each other, but for the most part, they got along pretty well. They loved each other very much, even if they were sometimes a little annoyed with each other.
One spring, when the boy was about 11 years old and the girl was about 8 years old, it started to rain a lot. And for the first few days, the kids loved it. They'd put on their rain jackets, or they wouldn't put on the rain jackets, and they'd go out and they'd play and dance and splash in the puddles. And by the fourth day of rain, they were feeling a little too soggy, like the rain clouds were making their way into the kids' hands and feet. By the end of a whole week of rain, the clouds were seeping further into their bodies and into their heads. And after 2 whole weeks of rain, it was pretty bad. The clouds had taken over their hearts, and the kids felt heavy and grouchy, and there were hardly any fun moments anymore. There was more and more arguing, plenty of yelling, and no more smiles. The rain was still falling, and the clouds were so much in their bodies that the kids even looked kind of grayish, and they had thunderstorms in their eyes.
Well, one day, the boy was sitting in his bedroom. All he could think about was the sad, mad, bored, frustrated feelings that the clouds were making in his body. He couldn't think of anything else. He didn't like it, and he wanted the feeling to go away. And he didn't know how to make it stop. It just kept feeling yuckier and yuckier. The little sister, who had been feeling these same feelings, was tired of being alone. And so she went to find her brother to pester him. The clouds in her heart were making her lonely, and the only thing she could think to do was to annoy her brother. So she went to his room, opened the door without knocking, and started teasing him.
Hey, Stinky Pants.
Get out. Leave me alone.
What? I can't hear you. All I hear is wah, 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 like a baby.
Go away.
Try to make me, you big, dumb monkey butt.
Oh, that was too far. The brother had enough. He got super angry really quickly. And without even thinking, he leapt up and went to his closet door to grab a ball. And as he was grabbing a ball, a clown wig fell down from the top shelf and it landed in front of him. And as soon as he saw that wig, it stopped him in his tracks. He had a sudden flash of a day long before the rain had started, where his favorite cousin had put that wig on and did the silliest, goofiest things, and it had made him laugh until his belly hurt. It was such a fun day, the kind that the boy hadn't felt in a long, long time, and suddenly he realized his sister was probably feeling sad just like him. Not because he'd thrown the ball at her, he hadn't. He still had it in his hand. But because she was probably filled with clouds, just like he was. And that was a special kind of pain.
This made the boy feel really sorry for his sister, realizing that she was feeling all the same terrible things he had been feeling. He looked at her with her strange grayish color and her stormy eyes that used to sparkle. And she looked down at the floor and she walked away. Instead of chasing after her with the ball, he turned back to his room. He found 2 more balls and he picked up the funny rainbow clown wig and a big purple tutu that he'd used in a costume the previous Halloween. He crept out of his room and he quietly peeked into each room looking for his sister. He found her in the playroom, sitting in a pile of stuffies, looking sad. He put the wig on his head, he pulled on the tutu, and he stepped into the room. His little sister, who was annoyed and still feeling mad, couldn't hide a tiny glimmer of a smile as her brother showed up in such an unexpected costume. The brother looked at his little sister, who he knew he loved very much. And even though his own heart still felt stormy, he did his best to be goofy, and he tried to juggle the balls. He tossed them up and they flew everywhere because he couldn't actually juggle. So he kept frantically picking them up and tossing them, and this concentration made him make the oddest faces. The sister suddenly burst into laughter over her brother being so silly.
And the sound actually surprised her brother, and he accidentally tossed one ball so hard that it bounced off the wall and then bounced right off the side of his sister's head. Uh-oh. Both kids froze for a second. The brother was afraid he'd hurt his sister. The sister was afraid she'd gotten hurt. But it didn't hurt at all, and it was actually extremely funny. And the sister started laughing even harder, and she rolled off of the couch onto the floor. She was laughing so hard. And that made her brother laugh. And they were both laughing so hard that it squeezed the clouds out of their hearts. And it pushed the clouds out through their arms and legs and hands and feet and right out of their bodies. They laughed so hard that tears rolled down their face. And that washed the storms out of their eyes. And that strange gray color went away. And their regular vibrant colors returned, but their eyes didn't quite go back to their old colors. Instead, inside their eyes were little flecks of rainbows.
The rain outside lasted for a while longer, but now the brother and sister had the sun in their hearts and rainbows in their eyes. It had been too hard to keep the clouds out of their own bodies, but now, shining for each other, forced the clouds to stay outside where they belong.
When you're having a hard time, it's easy for clouds to feel overwhelming. And there is nothing wrong with feeling sad when things are hard. But there is a magic remedy that you can use when things are feeling especially hard. If you can find a little bit of energy to try to help another person with their clouds, you might find out that your own clouds start to clear away too. When that brother made the choice to lift his sister up, even though his clouds wanted him to do something else, both of their heart suns started to shine. Try it out. Let us know if it works for you.